Oh, right. If you're hearing that, that means we are live and on time. If we're within 5 minutes of when I have a scheduled, I'm calling that as being on time. So yes, we are on time. My God, it's a miracle. Anyway, if you don't know who I am, my name is Rich White. I am the host of this show. And so far, we don't have any panelists yet. There are links out there just waiting for people to show up. And see, on the YouTube side so far, we've had Patriot in the Dark, Bernie Sanchez, and Ron Tway Matters commenting. So, evening to you three gentlemen. If you're out there and you don't say anything, we don't know you're there. We don't know how accurate these counters are. And we know darn well that the participant list on YouTube isn't accurate. And X is definitely not accurate because it doesn't integrate. Speaking of which, I need to go over there and see if anybody is watching over there and say hi to those folks. Says we got 5 views over on X, so evening to all you folks over there. To you folks over there. Nobody has said anything over there as yet, so again, don't say anything. We don't know who you are. We don't know you're there. Can't respond to you. Can't say hi. So, yeah, if you're there, say something. Let us know you're there. But let's see. Where was I? Back over here. So I control things. Chris from 740 out there on the YouTube side. So evening to you, sir. Yeah. Now, I don't know how many of you have read the title for tonight's episode, but if you remember back almost 2 weeks ago on Gizzard Gary's Monday night show, Foul Territory, we had let's call it a lively debate over what could happen with the HPA and short acts being placed into the big beautiful bill. And we argued over whether or not it could be a killer for, we'll call it the BBB, that's the initials, or if it would pass, or if it would pass the Senate and then get hung up in the House and yada yada. We had such a lively debate about that aspect, we didn't even get to the aspect about the Senate parliamentarian. I briefly brought that up this past Monday, again on Gizzard Gary's Foul Territory. If you're not subscribed to Foul Territory, everybody who's out there watching on YouTube right now is. But if you're not out there and subscribed to Gizzard Gary on YouTube, do so. He has a really good show Monday nights. And I brought up about the Senate parliamentarian and how their job currently, it's a woman who, I'm going to get to that, Vanessa. Currently, the Senate parliamentarian is a woman who was appointed by Harry Reid. So she should have lost that job by now, but still has it. We're going to get into that. Anyway, the Senate parliamentarian's job, as it sits right now, is to determine whether a bill in the Senate passes constitutionality or procedure as established by Senate rules. So what happened, and I discussed about how in her role in doing so, she could find some way to say that either those two bills that were added in either don't pass constitutional muster or break Senate rules. Well, lo and behold, around 1 a.m. Eastern Friday morning, she did just that and said that somehow a bill that is a tax affects a tax doesn't belong in the Senate Finance Committee, of all places. You let that one sink in, folks. A tax, according to the Senate parliamentarian, has nothing to do with finances. And her reasoning was because there's a registration too. Yep. And the cats are reenacting, I guess, what this woman was doing Friday morning. If you can hear the cats in the background. But yep, what I say could potentially happen did. Senate has already moved to basically take away just the tax part and leave the registration still in there. So you won't have to pay the $200, but you'll still have to wait 6 months to a year for the ATF to get off their asses and approve you. So, I mean, so we'll wait and see what happens on that. And like Vanessa says, the Senate could have changed procedure when they were beginning. Yes, they could have. They could also have fired this woman and have put somebody else in or eliminated the position altogether, because I don't believe that is a constitutional mandate that they have a parliamentarian. I believe that's just a Senate rule. I'd have to look at the Constitution to see for sure. I don't have it right up here in front of me right this minute to do so. But there is an internet. So let's see, shall we? And no, the United States Constitution does not specifically mention or call for a Senate parliamentarian. So essentially, the Senate, as of right now, can tell her to go fuck herself and put those right back in the bill. And there really isn't anything that she can do about it. Because they can just say that her job isn't a constitutional mandate anyway. So, pound sand, which is what they should do if they had balls. That's what they would be doing. They would be telling the parliamentarian where to stick it, leaving both of those in the bill and passing them as written, instead of bending over, taking it up the ass once again from the Democrats, because this is the one card they had to play and they played it. And passed the bill as it was supposed to be passed. It's that simple. There's no constitutionality to any ruling that this woman makes. So ignore her. Simply ignore her. I'm sure if the shoe were on the other foot, the opposition would just ignore this parliamentarian's ruling because they've done it in the past. There's, you know, precedent for the other side ignoring Senate rules, even constitutional rules, which is insane, but it has happened. We're gonna our side. Nope, we're gonna. I'm say that within quotations, by the way. They're just gonna let the other side have a unelected bureaucrat determine that no, you can't have that in that bill, and so they're going to change it. It's stupid, 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 stupid. Like I said, no balls, no balls whatsoever. On X, there were various senators saying we got to get this passed and that passed, and my comment on every one of their posts: fire the Senate parliamentarian first. As of right now, that should be the first order of business: is getting rid of her, which they can do. She serves at the discretion of the Senate Majority Leader, essentially. So, fire her. Gary's out there in the chat. Jacob S. is out there in the YouTube chat as well. So, evening to both of you. And yes, hi, cats. I hear you too. Yeah, feeling kittens are playing rougher than what they should be. There's Justin Grimm out there on the YouTube side. Let's see anybody saying anything over on X. No, nobody's saying anything on X. 10 views over there. So we got 7 on YouTube. Well, it says 6 on YouTube now, but then again, I have no idea how accurate that is. So yeah, cats, 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 cats. So anyway, yeah. Whenever, what's the moral of this story? If you see the Senate or Congress doing something that you think is a good move, always pay attention to what the left hand's doing. You know, Barbecue and I, Guns and Barbecue and I both brought up about how just because these were added to the big beautiful bill doesn't mean they were going to get passed. I'm not going to mention any names here. Those of you who watched know who it was. Insisted that, oh, we were just Debbie Downers. No, it's the fact that we know how the government works. Okay, we've seen this how many times. Some of us, at least one of us, has studied the government, knows how these things work. And yeah, let's see who's jumping in. Oh, the aforementioned Guns and Barbecue. How are you tonight?
I'm doing all right. The first time I clicked the link, it said that there's no stream. I was like, did Rich send the wrong link again? So I clicked it again, and then it worked. So I don't know what's going on.
I don't know.
So if anybody else was sent the link and you had a similar issue, maybe try it again.
There you go.
So Rich isn't up here floundering. But yeah, hate to say it, but yeah, saw this coming a mile away.
Hmm.
And unfortunately, like I hate hearing all this Democrats, Republicans. At the end of the day, it's gun grabbers because they're on
Yeah.
both sides, and they we both know that there's as many red team as blue team that wanted this to fail.
Hmm.
There's a reason that Safer Communities Act passed what 3 years ago or 4 years ago, whatever it was. 15 Republicans crossed the aisle for that.
Hmm.
Did we? Were people really thinking this was going to go through?
Apparently, at least one person we know does or did. Because remember, he couldn't understand how certain people weren't happy about something good happening.
But yeah, my
Meanwhile,
idea was just keep it low key. One little thing in there. I mean, it was
hmm
bad enough. Chuck Schumer is already on national TV having a press conference. They're trying to get this off long before the Short Act was ever introduced to it.
hmm
Long before that.
it's
So
why,
like it was already on their radar.
yeah, it's why both bills were proposed in the House as two separate bills to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
At least get one of them through. I got a feeling that nothing would have happened if the Short Act hadn't been added to it too, which is basically what the point was 2 weeks ago. And remember, the Short Act, technically, because it is a spending bill, whether the Senate parliamentarian wants to admit it or not, couldn't even really be brought up by the Senate in the first place, which is where I thought that one was going to die, was the fact that it never passed the House. Because remember, all spending bills have to start in the House. And as it
Yeah.
never made it out of the House, the Senate couldn't touch it.
Yep.
That's where I thought she was going to stomp on the Short Act being in the big, beautiful bill. I wasn't expecting her to do shit to the Hearing Protection Act because that did pass the House. And then to say that a bill having to do with a tax doesn't belong in the Finance Committee is like, wait, what?
Well, what did she say it was? Because she didn't call it a tax, even though
Oh,
the Supreme Court has
she said
affirmed
there
that
was a
it is.
yeah, she said there was a tax, but also because of the registration, it wasn't in the Finance Committee's agenda. That it wasn't in their
Gotcha.
purview. So essentially, she said even though it's a tax, it doesn't belong in the Finance Committee because there's a registration attached to the tax.
See, and like because that was my original confusion in the first place uh, on Gary's show Monday, because with the way I was to understand the whole bill, it's a spending bill,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, well, like I understand removing the $200 fee, but all the regulation and stuff, like I understand like the hope and a dream of doing it, but at the end of the day, it seems like it would take a much broader uh, jump to actually do that. Um, and my thought process behind that is like if you go and or to just undo the NFA that way with with a spending bill like this, then they could just go and regulate all kinds of stuff just as easily by adding a tax to it.
Hmm. Which they do. I
Which
mean, look at
I'm
tobacco. They already do that.
yeah, but tobacco is not a right.
No, but I'm just saying they've used the tax to
I
regulate it.
realize I realize what you're saying, but I'm talking about something that's a given right.
And that's the whole point of what the NFA was done to do in the first place.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a mess.
So, um, but like at the end of the day, still like I could see them, which I've already heard. Depending on what you want to listen to, all that. That the backup plan now is to just try and say, okay, fine, we'll still have people get fingerprinted and do all the paperwork and all that. We'll just waive the $200 tax.
Which is basically what the Senate said they're going to do on Saturday.
Yep. Now, I think a lot of people are going to piss and moan about that. I don't think that's that bad of an option because
No,
at the end of the day, if that happens, that still opens up the floodgates for people to go, okay, that $200 hurdle is gone.
hmm
So, you know, they can go out and, whether it's that cheap adapter that you just set on the end of your barrel and put on a bunch of pram filters or whatever the hell your heart desires, that $200 uh, fee is that's holding a lot of people back. It's not there.
right.
Um, how many suppressors and short barreled rifles are there already in the hands of Americans legally?
Yeah. Well,
Now, how many more would there end up being?
yeah.
So
And good.
I was going to say, we'd be able to make the argument that these are now common use and there's no tax on them anymore, and that Congress does not have a right to regulate them.
Here's the funny part, and we've talked about this before. There's a Supreme Court ruling on the books going all the way back to 1930, what was it, 1938, 1939,
38 Miller?
that that already says that if
Yeah,
it's in common use by the military, the people are to have it. that
exactly.
was that was their
Which,
rationale back then for upholding short barrel shotguns being on the NFA
yep,
because they weren't in common use by the military. Now they are. And so are short barreled
suppressors,
rifles, so are full
yep,
auto rifles. Back then,
yep,
they weren't.
yep.
One other
Like
thing
I
that,
brought that up
okay,
for years now, and like I do not understand why nobody uses that.
I don't know. But they also had one other, her ruling also had one other effect. The bill was supposedly going to be voted on in the Senate on Friday. Guess what didn't get voted on Friday?
Okay,
Hmm?
okay,
Yeah, the big beautiful bill didn't get voted on Friday.
yeah.
That's, that was supposed to be voted on Friday, supposedly. Her ruling threw a monkey wrench into that too. Whether that's a good thing or not, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, it's just crazy. And what could end up
Well, there's
happening
another
too?
thing.
Oh, good.
So there's another thing in there that I heard rumblings about. I'm trying to look into it more. I haven't been able to find much about it, but something with the bonds and whatnot, and with the way I've heard it is there you'd have to buy a bond or something so that if you want to sue the government, then essentially if you lose, like you've you've paid the government for suing them.
It's a bond to cover the legal fees. You got to remember.
Yeah, which is
Yeah.
bullshit.
Well, yes and no. I can see good and I can see bad. Good, remember, the way it's supposed to work in a civil case is the loser is supposed to pay the court fees. But that doesn't always end up happening because the losers don't always have the money to do so. And so there's complications over who's going to end up paying it. If you have to file a bond and show that you have the money to pay those fees if you lose, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Will that cut back on frivolous lawsuits? Will it not? I mean, you get what I'm saying? It's a mixed bag on that one.
Yeah, but if you're suing the government, I don't know. It's different when it's private parties, but when you're sitting there going, "Hey, you're infringing upon my rights."
Yeah, but you got people that are suing the government that probably shouldn't be too. Just like you got people suing doctors that probably shouldn't be. People suing, you know, their neighbors for things they probably shouldn't. There are frivolous lawsuits all over the place. So that could
Oh
be
yeah,
what the rationale for it is. That's all I'm saying. I'm devil's advocate, basically. And what could end up happening too, since the bill hasn't passed yet, the ball is still in the Senate's court. They could take the HPA and the Short Act. Well, and even I still say that they probably shouldn't be touching the Short Act because that never passed the House. But they could take the HPA at the very least, since it has passed the House. Since the Senate parliamentarian says that it can't just go to the finance, only one part of that can be in the Senate Finance Committee. Put the other half in the Judiciary and have it come out of the Judiciary Committee. Problem solved. The registration and everything, send that to Judiciary. Split it into two separate aspects of bills and have the two different committees basically reconcile on that one, which in theory can be done. Basically, you split the HPA into a bill getting rid of the tax, another one getting rid of registration, put both of those bills back into the big, beautiful bill. What's the parliamentarian going to do then? Is what it came out of two different committees. One that generally does handle regulation, and the other one which handles finance. What could she possibly do then?
interesting thought.
Let's see if I got the right committee. You get the point of what I'm saying.
No, no. Let's say then we just get to see all the red team that vote no on the bill.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, let's be realistic. Listen to the parliamentarian. It's a win-win for both sides. Dems get to go, hey, look, we stopped their radical gun movement stuff, yay! And then red team gets to go, we tried really hard, but those damn Dems, this is why, you got to keep voting for us. We were almost there, but they're never going to stop.
And maybe I'm cynical on this, but it also is a win for the gun rights organizations because they can use this as a means to raise more money. GOA's already done it. They've already sent out an
Oh
email
yeah,
asking for money to fight the Senate parliamentarian.
I will send them money if it's on pay-per-view.
12 rounds?
No, UFC 3 rounds, 5 minutes apiece.
I was thinking 12 rounds in a squared circle with gloves, but okay, that works too. Two out of 3 rounds in Hell in a Cell. Only for real.
Yes. First one to fly off the cage wins.
Actually, they would lose. The goal is to throw your scaffold match. Go back to
Oh
old school.
God.
There were only a few of those matches for a reason. Because
Yep.
people were crazy back in the 80s, for one thing. And because Jim Cornette really fucked his leg up.
I was gonna say Cornette's.
Yeah, for those of you who may not know what a scaffold match was, way back in the 1980s, before WCW was even a thing, back when it was still NWA wrestling, they came up with this concept of having a 30-foot scaffold off the ring, over the ring, and to win the match, you had to throw your opponent off the scaffold, and there were no mats or anything at the bottom.
I still want to know how the hell they got Cornette to take that bump.
I don't know. I know I wouldn't have. You wouldn't have got me up on that scaffold. I'll tell you that
Because
right now.
he's a pretty sane guy, especially when it comes to his wrestling. Like, that's fucking dumb. I'm not doing that. Nobody should do that.
Yeah. Road Warrior Hawk, who was deathly afraid of heights, said they had to give him $1 million bonus to get up there on that scaffold. Remember, back then, $1 million was a hell of a lot more than $1 million
Oh yeah.
today. That was the only way he would do it. And he said that was the most rickety thing you'd ever want to see. These were not the best scaffolding you would in the world that they were doing this on either. So. But yeah, they thought that was a good idea.
It's like a New York Outcast scaffold.
He probably puts together a better scaffold than what that was.
Probably. I hope so.
Yeah. According to reports, this thing had bolts falling out of it and whatnot.
Would not be surprised.
G-Web's throwing out a date from history. It says 249 years ago today, Thomas Jefferson completed the first draft of the Declaration of Independence. And the original line was life, liberty, and property, but they had the Constitutional Congress, goddamn, not Constitutional Congress, Continental Congress had him change that because they felt it could be a connotation to slavery. And even back then, there were abolitionists in the government. So it became life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness instead of property. Geo says there's nothing about buying a James Bond movie in order to sue the government. Oh, that that reminds me of something too. Remember a couple years ago we did an episode where we were talking about how the new James Bond was going to be a girl? Well, Amazon changed that apparently. That's not going to happen. Even though there was a movie where you had James Bond, but you also had a girl who was essentially James Bond. No, the lead actor right now to get the part of James Bond in Amazon's James Bond movie is a black dude. First it was Snape, now it's James Bond. Both of whom, in the books, you couldn't describe a whiter guy. Why? If you want a role for a black guy, write one. You know, Christ, have Felix Leiter be a black guy. No, that guy was never had. What they need a new one. They're going to need a new one of him too. Or M. M is Bond's boss. M could be anyone. M just stood for minister. Why does Hollywood continually feel the need to change fundamental aspects of characters? It's not just Hollywood, it's all print media. A couple years ago, actually, it's probably more of around a decade now. God, it's been a while. Marvel Comics took a character named Bobby Drake, who was also known as Iceman, a mutant, one of the mutants. Known womanizer throughout the entire run of X-Men in the X-Men franchise series and offshoots of comics as a womanizer. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, for no reason whatsoever, with no explanation given, they turned Bobby Drake gay. Ozzy out there, he says, they have Shaft. Why do they need to mess with Bond? Yeah, really. Like I said, you got to create your own characters. You don't have to steal other characters. Every time they do this with one of these characters, it fails. Not only did Marvel take Iceman and make him gay for no reason whatsoever, they also gender swapped Iron Man and Thor. You know what happened to both those comics? They flopped. Nobody read them. So what did Disney do in all their geniusness? made a movie about female Thor, which nobody watched, and probably their worst streaming series in Ironheart, which nobody's watching. And the reviews are really bad. I don't know, man. Is Hollywood this bankrupt for ideas? Is print media in general this bankrupt for ideas that they can't come up with a new character? They're just going to steal another character and make and turn them into what they want. Nonsense is why I stopped reading comics so long ago. Though recently I have been reading some back issues of Batman. Batman apparently is the one comic that hasn't really been affected much by all this nonsense. And so far, it's not. It's, Batman comic's a Batman comic. Can't say the same with Superman when they had him renounce his U.S. citizenship, but then they went and retconned that, so there is that. Because they got grief about that one. Truth, justice in the American way became truth, justice in the human way. Like, okay. I think there's certain factions on this planet that wouldn't agree with that. You know, some of which we've talked about on the show before. So yeah, and Hollywood wonders why they're failing. Because you do shit like this. Why do they have to? Why do they need to mess with Bond? Yep. Oh hell, they've been proposing having a black guy play James Bond before they had the last Daniel Craig movie, in which he basically took a back seat to female James Bond. Even though they didn't necessarily call her James Bond in the movie, it was obvious what was going on. Yeah, because at one point, oh hell, what the hell's his name? The one that played Heimdall in the Marvel movies. I can't remember his damn name right now. But they had him possibly playing Bond. Great actor. I mean, he's a good actor. He's not James Bond. Sean Connery, George Lazenby, Sean Connery again, Roger Moore, Timothy Dalton, Pierce Brosnan, and um, Daniel Craig. What do they all have in common? Oh, and then there's the guy before Connery who played the character back in, was it late 50s, 1960s, early 1960s, something. in a U.S. made TV movie. Anyway, yeah, one American played James Bond. The rest have all been British or an Australian. One Irishman. And they all had pale complexions. Just saying. Just saying. And they were all guys. And Lazenby said that only doing one movie was the biggest mistake he ever made in his career. I don't know why people give George Lazenby such a hard time. Wasn't his fault they had him get married in the movie. Oh, that ruined mine. Okay, whatever. I didn't think On Her Majesty's Secret Service was all that bad. Good Lord. I think Timothy Dalton was a worse Bond than what George Lazenby was. They've all had stinkers. Let's put it that way. If we had more people in here, I don't know where barbecue went. He muted up and hasn't been back. So I don't know. But I don't know who I would say the most consistent Bond was. My favorite two are Connery and Moore for different reasons. And somehow this has become a James Bond chat. Good Lord. Haven't even been an hour yet.
Nope.
Haven't even been an hour yet, and I'm already starting yawning. Because I didn't get much sleep, so what else is new?
Me neither.
And the best part is I'm out of sleeping pills, so. Well, the current prescription anyway, I'm out of. It's sitting at the pharmacy because they wouldn't fill it yet. That's the fun thing about having controlled substance prescriptions. You're just a couple of days before it's due to be filled, and the pharmacy won't fill it because they're not allowed to. Thanks, Obamacare. Pharmacy ain't open on the weekend. How the hell am I supposed to get it filled, dumbasses? Nope.
Do like Kurt Angle.
Yeah. It's not even that strong of a controlled substance anyway. It's barely on the damn listing. But no. Went to get it filled one day too soon, and nope, you can't get it filled yet. So I gotta wait. Gotta wait. Amy doesn't know if she's going to be off work in time to get to the pharmacy, so might have to wait till Tuesday when she's off to get it. Which I still have the old prescription, so I might just take that. But it doesn't work as well. It doesn't work for OB either. Ron says only get maybe 2 or 3 hours of sleep every day. There's 2-3 day periods. I'm lucky if I get that much sleep if I don't have my medicine run. I've gone 3 days without sleep without having my pills before. And of course, the VA says it's not service connected. So, even though the doctor says my doctor says it is. Their people say it isn't because the VA likes to fuck people. Multiple different ones of my service connected disabilities can cause insomnia. But according to the VA, none of them are causing my insomnia.
No, 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 no.
Yeah, Ron says even taking sleeping pills 2 or 3 hours a day. That's about what I had last night. Was maybe 2-3 hours, maybe 4 at most. So yeah, Ron, I feel your pain there, buddy. So I'm sure we have different reasons for that. Me, I just can't fall asleep. I'll just lay there and stare at the ceiling, basically. Sometimes it's pain related, but most of the time it's just not able to fall asleep. I can be tired as all hell and just my brain doesn't want to shut down. I'll lay there and just thinking about stupid shit all night.
See, mine does this cool thing where if I'm hung up on something, I will go into I'll go into this place where like I'm getting rest, but I am super aware of what's going on around me still, and I'm still processing whatever it is that is going through my head. It's normally something with finances and numbers and stuff like that, and trying to figure something out. And I will keep crunching it, and in the middle of the night, all of a sudden it will hit me, and I'll wake up and be like, "Got it."
Mine, literally, I will just be there laying there tossing and turning all night with stupid shit going through my head. I mean, the stupidest shit you could think of. Like, what would happen if this superhero did this and this or this? And that? You know, that kind of shit. Just really stupid, retarded shit. going through my head for no reason whatsoever. Just like,
I'm so glad mine's useful stuff.
mm-hmm.
Like I said, like it doesn't even keep me up. Like I can go to sleep, but like when I am in those states, like I'm not fully asleep. It's like an altered state of consciousness. It's weird to describe, but uh, when I wake up, like I feel rested still.
Mm-hmm. In my case, it's just like my brain goes into overdrive and whatnot, and can't get to sleep. No, if I start thinking about 9 millimeter geobes, I'll start thinking about how to make it stronger and stuff, and then I'll completely forget what the hell I was thinking about during the night, and won't remember any thing that I may have cracked to make it better. Trust me, I know that I've come up with things to make certain things better, and can't remember what the hell it was for the life of me. I know I've done it. I know it. It's like I'm laying there at night thinking about it. It's like, oh, I'll have to write this down in the morning. Get up, completely forgot about what the hell I came up with. Or I'll end up thinking something along the lines of, if Batman used a 9 millimeter instead of a 45, would the Comics Code Authority have been so upset about him having a gun that they would have took it away from him in the 60s, in the 50s and 60s? Remember, at one time, Batman carried a 1911. What was cool in the mid 2000s, early 20 teens, there was a crossover comic where it was an alternate timeline. Instead of Bruce Wayne's parents being killed, Bruce Wayne and his mother were killed, and his dad becomes Batman, right? And in those comics, his dad had the 45 and was using it.
World Wars.
Mm-hmm. G Web basically says, I'm gonna guess he's alluding to when I said if Batman had a 9 millimeter, he said that comic would have been laughed off the shelves. He said the Batman TV show was the 9 millimeter Batman. How whammo. Well, I'm going about an hour now. Yay, we made it an hour. I don't know. I might cut this one early. I wasn't
Gonna say
planning.
time to kill her.
Yeah, maybe. We pretty much did a good job covering what I mainly wanted to cover tonight.
Yeah, rub it in people's faces, person's
Mm-hmm.
faces.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And you probably won't even
Yeah,
watch anyway. Yeah. Rob says sex, alcohol, or extreme activity should make you tired. Making tired ain't the problem. Falling asleep is the problem. I get plenty tired. My brain doesn't shut down. If your brain doesn't shut down for the night, you're not going to fall asleep. I could be physically exhausted to the point where I can barely move and I will lay there and my brain will just keep going. And alcohol I can't do because of other medicines I'm on. Not that I'm a fan of alcohol anyway. Never was. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. I haven't gotten drunk since I turned 21. And I'm talking not even the slightest little bit tipsy, let alone full on plastered. It's just not something I've ever really done. Usually, for my brain to get mentally exhausted, I gotta be doing something, I don't know, extremely mentally taxing. Like having to deal with people at a damn trade show. It's a good thing goals is in a month. I might actually get some sleep that weekend. And it might sound like I'm joking, but the last good night's sleep I had was at the Great American Outdoor Show.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, just those things are meant. You go one of these trade shows, you've been. They're mentally taxing. You have to deal with all the people, the crowds and everything. Just wears you out.
Yes, yes, indeed.
Especially post COVID, where people are even crazier, it seems, than they were before. I think the worst mistake me and Chris made was going to the first Great American Outdoor Show after COVID on opening weekend. That place was a fucking madhouse.
Sounds like a party.
We were both trying to record, to do videos and stuff. Not even halfway through the day, we both threw our arms up in the air and said, "Fuck this, we ain't getting any videos done today." It wasn't happening. It was just too insane. Okay, Rob's just being goofy, but what else is new? And if anybody's wondering, the Chris I was referring to was Chris from 740. A couple years ago, when they first had the Great American Outdoor Show open again, we decided we were going to go on the first weekend. Yep, big mistake. Big mistake. You couldn't really get to where you could film anything because you're trying to film like when I was. If you go back and you watch the video I did from with Taurus that year, I'm standing there trying to film the rep from Taurus, and I'm just getting bumped into left, right, and center by people. At least one person had enough uh, decency to apologize. Everybody else, they didn't give a shit. That
Really enjoyed your Sig Sauer video from that year.
oh, oh, the one that the phone ate. Yeah, I got one the next year. I'm still pissed off about that other one. That was the year when all the different varieties of P365 were coming out, and I think they had just brought out the X or something. And he was telling me about the other ones that were coming down the line that weren't released yet. To keep an eye out on them and everything. Like, damn it, get get home. And the video was fucked up, and I didn't get a chance to go back and redo it. Couldn't redo it. Didn't have time. No, it wasn't because the phone died or anything, Rob. There were other videos on the phone that were fine. It was just that one. And that one was done the last day we were there. I had to schedule with him to, because of how crazy things were. I scheduled to do that video with him before the show really was even open. Like I said, there was no like going back and redoing it after or anything. It was just lost. The only thing I got was one still that was left. Essentially, that was there were a couple other stills, but they were all blurred. I couldn't use any. I couldn't use them for anything. The one picture that I posted, I think it was on Instagram, is the one frame that was usable for anything out of what was left of the video, and the audio was completely gone. So I couldn't even post it as a audio only if I wanted to. You know, I could have like threw the Sig uh, logo in a video or something, and or threw that picture of him up there with the Sig logo and whatnot, as basically a thumbnail, and did it as an audio only video, but couldn't even do that because the audio was completely gone. G-Web says videos are fat anyway. Well, barbecue isn't here no more. So, he might be out there looking at the chat, but he's not here no more. He may have he dropped, so he may have been having some kind of technical issue. That happens with him from time to time. Let's see. Anything going on over on X? No, still says 12 views and nobody saying anything in the chat part over there. So, says we got one on Rumble, 80 watching on YouTube right now, according to their tracker anyway. I don't know how accurate that is. Like I said before. Yeah. I may wrap this up, like I said, early. Try and get some sleep if I can. As I'm saying that, I start yawning real bad. Of course I did. Why wouldn't I? Well, anyway, I want to thank Barbecue for being on the panel tonight and everybody that showed up to watch, either whether you're watching on Rumble, X, or YouTube. And yeah, since there's nobody to plug anything this week, I might have a video come out. I don't know yet. We'll have to wait and see. I mean, I got ideas I want to do, but I also have a lot of running errands and shit I have to do this week, so I don't know if I'm going to get a chance to do so. So, anyway, so we're gonna put this one in the barn and call it a night. So, good night, everybody, and we will catch y'all later. Where'd I put that outro? That outro's wrong. What did this outro?
Now listen up, babies. I'm here to ride the train down the funky town. The Unloaded Media Channel is doing a giveaway once he hits 500 subscribers. For more information and details, check the description down below. And you too can be funky like a monkey. What a whee!
I've been looking, Rob. They haven't been getting them in, man. I can't get you what they don't got. Anyway, good night, everybody.